Hola chicos, ¿cómo están? Bueno, voy a explicar un poquito sobre el subjuntivo porque creo que es uno de los temas más difíciles de entender. So I'm going to go over subjunctive a little bit because I know it's something that is a little harder to understand. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and my whiteboard. Okay. So one of the most important things to understand, the sentences in subjunctive are different than indicative, okay? Because there is a specific structure for these sentences, okay? As I said in the last video, subjunctive is different than indicative in the way of that indicative is just telling you when the verb happened, when the action happened. Subjunctive is something that I wish this could happen, right? Subjunctive also tells us there that you deny something, right? You think something is important, right? So it has different things, different ways of using the subjunctive, but just think about it as a mood, not that something will happen, but you want it to happen, okay? As I said in the last video, the song Quiero que me quieras by Gael Garcia, which is I want you to want me. It's the Mexican version. You can see the video, I posted it. It isn't saying that you're gonna love me, right? Quiero que me quieras, or I want you to love me, right? This doesn't mean that you will love me, okay? It means that that is what I want, okay? So there's different things that trigger the subjunctive. One of them is will and influence, doubt, disbelief, and denial. There's different things that we're gonna see during the semester, but just think about those things. You're not saying that something is really happening, but that the first subject is wanting that the second subject does something, okay? So first of all, I'm gonna tell you how the structure is, okay? For subjunctive, you need a main clause. Then you need a connector. And then you need a subordinate clause. Okay, and I'm gonna open this a little more so I can write. For the connector, we usually have que, okay? Later on in the semester and in the course, you're gonna see that there's connectors that trigger the subjunctive, okay? Normally, what triggers the subjunctive is in this main clause. Okay, and what this means is that it doesn't mean that you have subjunctive here, right? It's not, I'm not saying you have subjunctive in the main clause. No, where you have the subjunctive would be in the subordinate clause. Okay, so the main clause triggers the subjunctive, okay? With will, influence, doubt, disbelief, and denial. All of these things trigger the subjunctive, and then you use subjunctive, okay? In the main clause, because we're using the present subjunctive, you are gonna use present in the main clause, okay? The way you conjugate the verbs, okay, so this is the most important thing to understand how the subjunctive works, right? There is a subject number one here, and I'll put it here, subject one. And then you have subject two. Okay. In the first lección, right, where that talks about subjunctive, you're gonna see that they're giving you 6 impersonal phrases. What this means is like, it is important that you eat food. healthy food, right? It is important. Is not telling you who is saying it's important. It's just like a general thing, right? So that that there are things that trigger the subjunctive like that. Okay. Um, I say this a lot in class. Espero que tengan voy a poner una buena semana. Okay. I hope, right? I'm the first subject, right? That you all, so you as a student and all your classmates are the second subject, that you all have a good weekend. Okay. As you can see, espero is conjugated for me, right? I hope, right? And then the second verb is conjugated in subjunctive, but it is for the second subject, which is yo. Okay. So it would be tengan. Okay. So here, espero is the one that's triggering the subjunctive. You're going to see during the semester, there's a lot of verbs that triggers the subjunctive. And a lot of these verbs, we have seen them before as indicative, okay? Like quiero, right? Querer. But it's different because if I say quiero comer or me gusta, well, yeah, quiero comer, it's just I'm indicating I want to eat, right? But if I want you to eat tacos, right, then it's going to be subjunctive because I'm wanting to influence you to eat something, right? So I'm going to put it here. So quiero, right, que comas tacos. Okay, subject number one, me, right? I want that you eat tacos. Okay, so the subject number two would be the verb conjugated for tu, for you. Okay. The same way that you learned how to conjugate for commands is this for negative commands is the same way you're gonna conjugate for subjunctive. Okay. I'm gonna change to the next one. So you need the yo form. Okay. What this means is that you need, if it's irregular in the your form, you're gonna continue with every regularity. Irregular. If it's regular, well, it's gonna be regular. Remember stem changing verbs, etc. Like everything that has to do with the yo form, okay? Remember tengo, vengo, all of those goes, keep their irregularity, okay? So what you're gonna do is, for example, I just said the verb tener, right? Tener in the yo form in the present tense, yo form present tense, is tengo, right? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna erase the O there, so it's teng, and we're gonna add the endings, okay? What are these endings? These endings are gonna be different for AR verbs and different for ER and IR verbs, okay? For AR verbs, endings, so we have AR verbs, okay? So it's gonna be okay? Tú, es, él, sorry. I'll just put it here. Nosotros, hemos, vosotros, eis, y ellos, en. Okay? As you can see, it's kind of the opposite of the endings for AR verbs. Okay? The same thing is going to happen with endings with ER and IR verbs. what happens is that we have the yo is, for example, a, tú, has, él, a, nosotros, amos, vosotros, háis, y ellos, han. Okay. So the verb tener is tenga, tengas, tenga, nosotros tengamos, vosotros tengáis, y ellos tengan. Okay. So it's kind of like switching the endings. Okay. That's a good way of thinking about this. Okay. Remember the cargar en sar continues having the same thing. Gar and sar have the same things in the yo form, not for the conjugations, but for verbs that end with gar and sar. Remember that c changes to q u. Okay. In the yo form when it's when the verb ends with gar. G changes to gu. Okay, in the yo form, and sar, z changes to c. Okay, to give you an example, for example, buscar. Okay, we know we have an AR verb, so we're gonna use these endings, right? So it's gonna be yo, bus, and then we're gonna change c to qu, and then the ending e. Tú busques. Él busque. Okay. Nosotros busquemos. Vosotros busquéis. Y ellos busquen. Okay. So I hope this helps you, right, to understand a little bit of how the subjunctive is working. It will you'll get a little better understanding it the more we get into it. But this is, I think, the most important thing to understand is the structure, how it changes, how there's two subjects, and it doesn't mean in the book it says change of subject, right, in the main clause and the subordinate clause, but not necessarily. I can be thinking like I hope that I eat tacos, right? I'm the same subject in both, but there's two subjects there. If it makes sense, right? I'm hoping for myself in the future and as if I was another person. Okay. So please email me if you have any questions.